welcome back to math. So, before we get started with today's concept, let's remember what we did last class. You guys remember what we learned last class? That's right. We learned about absolute value. We learned about how a number inside absolute value means the distance it is away from 0. Today, we're just going to do an extra step, which we're going to add a variable in there. So, just because it's a variable doesn't mean it's going to be a lot more complicated. It's still the same principle. The only difference is we're going to split the equation into a positive and negative equation. Okay, that's the only difference. But everything else is still the same. Okay, so let's get started on today's concept. The problem we're going to be dealing with today is x plus 4, now for the absolute value signs, equals 1. Okay? It might look a little complicated, it's okay. All these lines in the front of the x and behind the 4 are saying we're looking for the absolute value of x. Okay? So, now that we're finding x, we have to break down the equation into two different equations. Okay? Or two equations that are one positive, one negative. Okay? Not necessarily two different equations. But let's start off with breaking down our positive one. So in order to get rid of the absolute values, we're going to have x plus 4 equals 1. We're also going to have another equation where we say that x plus 4 equals negative 1. Okay, the one that's going to be negative is always the number it equals. Okay, so negative 1. Now it looks a little more easier, right? One-sided or one-step equations, which we covered. So, on this first one, we can say, if we're trying to get rid of the 4 and it's positive, the opposite of positive is negative, right? So we do negative 4. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other, because remember, balance. So we have negative 4 over here as well. 4 minus 4 cancels out. We're just left with x. That's what we're trying to do. Leave x alone, right? So we have x equals 1 minus 4. Remember, your answer has to be negative, right? Because the negative is bigger. So we're going to subtract 1 from the negative 4. We have negative 3. So one of your answers is x equals negative 3. Okay? But we're not done yet, okay? We still need to solve for the negative one too. So, let's solve for that negative one. We have x plus 4 equals negative 1. We do the same thing we did on the other problem. We're trying to get rid of the 4. So the opposite of positive 4 is negative 4. Good. We have negative 4. Remember, we also have to do it on the other side. So we have negative 4. The 4 and the negative 4 cancel out. That's the whole point. We're trying to solve for x. So we have x equals, remember, both of these numbers, negative 1 and negative 4, they're both negatives, right? So we can combine them and keep the negative. So 1 plus 4 is 5. So the answer is x equals negative 5. And that's it. We solved for both x's. And we're done. See, it wasn't that complicated. It looked complicated, but once we break it down, it makes it a lot easier. Okay? So, ready for your assignment? Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, this is your assignment for today. You have two problems. All right. For each one, you're going to give me both the positive and negative for absolute value. So problem number 1 is x minus 4 equals 4. That's the first one, okay? And your second problem for today is y plus 3 equals 2. So, make sure you send me your answers, and I'll be waiting to hear from you.